Good morning, welcome to today's RC. I'm not drinking that, it's too hot. Coffee chat. On today's topics, we have the Micro Sky Munter has got some new LEDs. The motor choice for the clouds. We've got a glue showdown, and I got the pieces which I glued up here, and there were some surprises in that, and you're going to find out about them first here. Silly me as well. That little rainbow wing. While the video, well, you'll find out later, but it flies great in short, and it was pilot error. There's another lamb to the slaughter as well. Right, let's move on to the Micro Sky Munter. I have another wholly inappropriate motor to go on the back of the Micro Sky Munter. I'm using a SunnySky X2212-9 1400 kV with a 7x5 prop on the back. Should be good fun, in short. The reason for 7x5 is because I want to give it a good spank around on 4S. And we will also notice, we'll get on to, the LEDs, we'll get to that in a moment. So I got the motor, I took the 1250 kV motor off, which was a fantastic motor. It did love to cruise, but I was really suffering on flight times. But we notice on this photo, we don't have the LEDs on the back. So yesterday, I don't know if you remember those 5730 LEDs. I've got them up on my screen. They came in a short while ago. And I finally got around to putting some on a model. So what I did is that I made up a wiring loom, which looks like that, which is actually very, very simple. All I've done is take a balance lead connector, and I've just matched it up with the battery, so I knew which side was positive and negative. Did a split on there, and all I did, that's actually one continuous cable which runs all the way through. But what it then did was just, I'm talking absolute rubbish. I chopped it there, and then this cable here, the ones which ran out to the LEDs, is one continuous cable, and all I did was just untwist the cable, and then got the wire strippers and just pull out the wire a bit, and then wrap those round, and then put a bit of heat shrink over it, solder them up, and then put some heat shrink on top. And then soldered them in. Now you will notice my amazing soldering job on these, and the reason for that was very simple, is because it appears the connections are actually made on the top of the board, not on the bottom of the board. So one of these didn't work until I went and put some more solder on the top, and then hey presto, she worked. So I've got a couple of other photos here for you. When you're soldering these little connectors, is that what I found is that if you pre-tin the pins first, pre-tin the wire, and then when you go to join the wire to the pin, you just tap it with the soldering iron, and it's all done and dusted within a second. So a simple way of doing it. But is that what I also do is that I put some hot glue down the back of here to give it some like restraint support, or give it some support, and then put some heat shrink tubing on top. So what we end up with is something like that, which I know this one's not the prettiest of jobs, but on the flip side is that I know that's super strong, because underneath that heat shrink there's a nice good dose of hot glue in there, and you can see my thumbprint on there where I've just squeezed it together. That I know there's plenty of hot glue in there to give those little solder joints plenty of support. So that's what I've been and done. And the photos I've got of this just doesn't do these LEDs justice. They are super bright indeed. You can see the lens glare on the off the camera. And then what I've done just to tidy this up, which we probably can't see very well. Have I got one of them? Yeah, we can't see particularly well. But what I've been and done, I've got some blender and tape over the top, and then both wires fall down underneath the fuselage. And then along this edge, now I did use dirty hot glue to stick them to the model, but what I've also been and done is just give them a quick outline of goop glue, especially over the solder joint as well, to make them semi-watertight. Yeah, they do look absolutely fantastic, and this photo just doesn't do them any justice at all. If you can imagine following this aircraft in another aircraft with the FPV goggles on, you will easily see this model in the sky. I'm 100% sure of that. They are super, super bright. I'm genuinely impressed by those. So that was topic number 1. I'm trying to get through some of these tabs. Brilliant. Oh, yeah. And the motor. Oh, motor choice for the clouds. I want to say a big hat tip to everybody in the Facebook group yesterday. I will be going with the X2814 900 kV motor and 11x7 props. I will get the clouds built today. I did manage to save myself $10 because it was in the email deal. So that's happy days. So I will get that ordered today. The next topic is a glue showdown. Now, so in front of me, I have a chunk of EPP blocks, which are spare blocks which came off the Wombat as I was building these parts of the boom. So if I stick those there a moment. Now, the glues which I've been using or tried was Goop plumbing glue, which is no holes barred, definitely my favourite glue of choice for EPP, and also EPO foam as well. I've also tried some E6000 as well, because I had a tube of that there, and that E6000 is really good stuff. What I found it seems to be best for is coating EPP. So on the bottom of my new Hornet wing is that I've done all the black foam underneath with that, and I've just run it over the top, and it's all got a nice shiny finish on the bottom. And the reason why I did that is my original Hornet is absolutely plastered in mud. So hopefully that will try and tame that big poo stains all the way down the bottom. The other glue which we tried was hot glue, dirty hot glue, of course. We also tried Yoo-Hoo Power, Yoo-Hoo Pour. The stinky stuff which came with the Wings Z84. While it was in the tub, I thought I'd give it a go. Brown Guerrilla Glue. Now, I do need to note that I couldn't be bothered to go back in the house and get some fresh water, so I just licked it, as you do, and then put some, probably far too much glue on the opposite side and whirled it around a bit, and then put some weights in on top of it. I also tried Zap Glue, which is a much smaller tube, but I found that to be really good as well. And I also tried some Foam Safe CA glue. Now, one thing which I would say on that Foam Safe CA glue doesn't seem to be the best or at anything really. Yeah, we'll find out how crap that is in a moment. So let me just see if I can find the... Oh, there you go. One of them's just fallen apart in my hands. I'll let you know which one that is. Yoo-Hoo Pour. There's the Wing. Hot glue. Goop. Okay, so the first one on the list was the Goop glue. Now, no surprise, this has been stuck. The EPP Foam ridiculously well. And that was me with all my strength trying to break the bond. And I genuinely think the foam's going to break before the bond actually breaks. So Goop, definitely a winner. The E6000, which is Zap, there's Guerrilla, E6000. Now, that didn't, all these had pretty much the same weight sat in on top of them, but this one didn't, for some reason, didn't glue down properly, and it's got a little flappy bit in there, so I feel it's unfair for me to try and rip it from that side. So I'll do the same kind of test on this side, and yeah, absolutely brilliant. E6000 works a treat on EPP, in short. I'm going to try and rip it apart from the opposite side because I can get my fingers in there. Yeah, the foam's breaking. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on the camera itself, but the actual foam's given away before the glue is. But the Goop did give a better bond, and I tried to use a similar amount of glue on all of them. Hot glue is the next one up. Now, yeah, absolutely fantastic. Really nice bond. But the one thing which I'd say about the hot glue is that I can feel that it's brittle. And I wonder if I can get in there and... Yeah, the foam's given out before the glue. But the hot glue is a brittle glue. It's quite a stiff glue compared to, say, the Goop or the E6000, which is more of a rubberized glue. The Goop glue set really quickly. The E6000, well, probably within about half an hour. It's the same for Goop. It would be pretty well set, enough for handling. Hot glue, within a couple of minutes, just need to wait for it to cool down. So they all have those three all have their benefits. Out of those three so far, I would still probably choose the Goop Glue. Next up is Yoo-Hoo Pour. Now for Yoo-Hoo Pour and Yoo-Hoo Power, which is those ones there, I understand these are a contact adhesive, so I put plenty of glue on, rubbed them together, tacked them up really nice and well, and then left them in 2 parts on the desk for 2 minutes. So I did a counter on the mobile phone, left it for 2 minutes, and then stuck them together and gave them a little squidge. And again, they had roughly about the same amount of weight on them. Give you a heads up, that was my testing platform. So they pretty much had a similar weight on there. Obviously, hot glue didn't need anything on top, but that was my test rig. Totally non-scientific. So Yoo-Hoo Pour. Now the reason why I don't like Yoo-Hoo Pour is, well, on its plus side, it's dirt cheap at about £3 a tube. On the flip side, I do find that it turns. How do I phrase this? No, I think I'll go with the correct phrasing. It makes it look like your model's been and pissed itself. So don't use it on anywhere where it's going to get sunlight, because it does turn yellow, as I found out in my C1 Chaser. So I've not been impressed with that glue so far. Well, number one, it does stick really well, and I did stick my mini Talon together with it. But on the flip side, wherever it gets sunlight, it does go a really peepy yellow. So let's try and... Oh, hang on, I'm going to... Right, I got that one apart. Quite well. I had to use quite a bit of force, but Yoo-Hoo Pour did come apart. It did break some of the foam away, but then in another part, it did break on the seam, and there is still the clean cut there. So Yoo-Hoo Pour, I don't think I'll be using it for any of my models with EPP. Right, Yoo-Hoo Power, which is the cheap stuff which you can buy from pound shops for £1, funnily enough. And, oh, clean break. Won't be using that on EPP. And by the way, that's what I found out. Remember that Sky Shadow when I broke that wing? The first time I repaired it, I just stuffed in Yoo-Hoo Power in the wing, and then on the day after, it broke again. Kind of makes sense. Now, these have had a good 12 hours set time as well, so that's the same as just being left overnight. The next one is that we got the Wing glue. Now, this came in the kit with the Wing Z84, and it scores a 10 out of 10 on the sniffability scale. Whether you can buy this off the shelf, I genuinely don't know. It probably is illegal, and if it's not illegal, it probably should be illegal, because it's really good stuff. So this is the Wing glue. Oh, I can tell you that it didn't set on one side, which is a bit frustrating. And some of the foam broke. You can see that on the camera. Some of the foam broke on there. I wouldn't use that again on EPP, in short. The next one, I did say that CA glue, which I've got, is not very good, and that just hasn't set at all. So that CA glue, don't put that you off using CA on EPP. It's just the really crap stuff which I've got here. The next glue which I've got is Zap Glue. Now, I really like this Zap Glue. Number one, it does seem to set really, really well. And number two, it does come with a tiny, tiny little nozzle. So doing precision work with glue, if that's even possible, is actually made possible using Zap Glue, because it's got such a tiny little nib on the end. And also, it's pretty cheap, but the bottle's not very big. So let's try this one. And I can see I've got a way in here, so I can see if I can... Oh, wow. Okay. Zap Glue is in the same league as, I would say, Goop Glue. That is set. Yeah, the foam's... Okay. Zap Glue is now going to be in the same league as Goop Glue. That worked exceptionally well. That is a really, really good strong bond. And the last glue which we've got, and I'm going to make sure you can see this on the camera, to be honest. That's what it did. So the brown Goop Glue, the brown Guerrilla Glue, like I said, I just licked one of the sides and stuck some glue in there, mashed it together, and then put some weight on top of it. What it's been and done is, well, number one, this glue is brittle. It's gone hard rather than like a rubberized joint. And number two, I don't know how well you're going to see that. It really has blown out and pushed the two parts apart from each other. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to say, well, Matt, you should have really clamped it. But the reality is that I didn't have to clamp any of the other ones, and I did put a moderate amount of weight on them all as well. And, yeah. Two pieces very, very easily. Now, that could possibly be down because of it's expanded, but on the flip side, this brown Gorilla Glue is hard. Now, in model airplanes which flex a lot, does the same. By the way, that's the other reason why I didn't test epoxy here, is because it's very similar to epoxy, which can be very, very brittle. So, yeah, I won't be using that on any of my models. So, from this completely non-scientific test of glues, Zap Glue was the shocker in here. That was the one which did exceptionally well. And Goop Glue, well, to be honest, I knew it was going to be up there as one of the #1 glues to use for EPP Foam. Zap Glue was the shocker in there. I didn't expect that one to be so good. So I will be ordering some more Zap Glue, because that was very, very good. And I do like the small little nozzle which you get with it. You don't get a lot in a tube compared to, say, Goop Glue, but the small little nozzle makes it very, very handy for getting into like little tight cracks or into little small seams. Very, very good. The E6000, yeah, it did stick very well, but there was a part of that where it didn't dig down very well, so maybe that was the downside on there. But that said, E6000 is pretty good glue anyway. Hot glue, cheap, dirty, easy to use. The negative, which I would say, is because it is a much stiffer glue, that does mean the foam needs to flex rather than the glue, like unlike what we would have with the Zap and the Goop Glue. But perfectly viable, don't get me wrong. You know I say about dirty hot glue and stuff, but it has stuck that exceptionally well together, so that's a good one. Yoo-hoo Pour, no. Excuse me, I've managed to pick up a cold from one of the girls. Yoo-hoo Power, complete fail. Wing Glue, no. CA, my CA at least, not very good at all. And again, CA is going to be the same as epoxy and Gorilla Glue as well, which is a very brittle glue. So may not be the best choice for model airplanes because, well, in this instance, for larger surfaces, because of, well, you've seen my flying style, for impacts, basically. So my CA glue failed. The Gorilla Glue utter fail, and there's no way I'm putting that anywhere near any of my models. And plus, it's gone an immediately piss colour as well. So there's the summary of my glue test, my glue shootout. And yeah, Goop's definitely the ultimate winner here, and the shock horror one was the Zap Glue. Very, very good indeed. I am actually really genuinely surprised by that. So I don't know which one was cheaper. And again, the Goop Glue is like the most expensive glue of them all. But we also know I use that, and that's the reason why I use it a lot. Zap Glue, I need to work out, is there any price difference between using Goop Glue and Zap Glue? Because if a Zap Glue, you've seen the amount of glue I get through, is the Zap Glue going to be more cost effective? I don't know. And again, that may be different for you based upon the country which you're in. So you may find it on eBay cheaper, for example, and that may be cheaper in the US or maybe in Australia compared to here in the United Kingdom. So Zap Glue, very, very good. Totally surprised by that one. It's done fantastically well. Now, I am very aware that we are running out of time, so 2 more topics. Silly me, you know the little rainbow wing which we had here yesterday? I'll thank you for everybody's comments, because while that video was rendering, I kind of looked at and I spotted that the elevons were up quite high, and that's because I obviously put too much nose weight on it. So what I did yesterday is I did a couple of things to it. Number 1, I changed the motor. Number 2, I changed in the propeller. I balanced the propeller. That helped massively. And also I've got this little black insert in there as well, so it really does bind onto the end of the shaft of the motor. It's not really a shaft. It was still using those little rubber band things on the top. But that seems to have made it a lot better as a stop vibration. And the other thing which I did for them is that I did notice I had too much reflex in there. So I put it back down almost flat with the top of the cord, which is a bit odd for not flying wings, because normally flying wings like a little bit of up in the elevons. And anyway, put it down to level with the top of the wing, and that worked absolutely perfectly. And I must have had 6 flights yesterday with it out the front. Beautiful little model to spin around. Loads of power with a little, what was it, a HK 1612, little Hobby King 1612 3200 kV motor. Absolute speeds along, pretty aerobatic. Does need a little bit of tweaking to give it some more rates. Oh, and I also noticed that it is very sensitive to the elevator as well. So what I've been and done, whereas maybe I would have like 100% ailerons or elevons for left and right movement, what I've been and done is tone down the elevator movement quite dramatically to about 50%. And I've also been and chucked a load of Expo in there as well, and that has made it perfectly flyable. And yeah, absolute great fun out the front, which is exactly what I wanted that model for. It was a cheapo at 15 quid, but on the flip side, very, very cool indeed. I'm a happy guy. Remember, I bought that one out my own cash as well. So yeah, it does everything which I expected it to do, and it also runs off those little 400 milliampere 2S batteries, which is perfect because I got 10 of them. So that is classed as happy days. I am a very happy camper. And the last topic is another lamb to the slaughter. This is the SAKURA model. I got it out of its box yesterday, and the first thing it said do on the list was glue the tailpiece to the body. So I am unfortunately using some of that crap CA glue. That's how crap it is. In fact, it hasn't even set. Good stuff that is. Not. And I've left it overnight, and I've checked on it this morning. I've just made sure it hasn't stuck to the box. So you'll see I put some tape up underneath. I have been to put a little bit more CA down on top. Now, I think with that CA glue is that it really does like the air for it to set. And of course, it's got plenty of air on there. And I've just put a bit more CA on there. So I will continue to build that one over the next couple of days. I'm in no great hurry to build this one. I'm a bit wary of investing too much time in it because that EPP is like 3 mil, 4 mil thick at best. So I think it's going to last one landing, but we'll see. We'll see, and it's definitely only ever going to be a model which can be used on a perfect flying day because there's just going to be no weight in it at all. So in summary, the Micro SkyHunter has been and received some LEDs and a wholly inappropriate motor. And those LED boards are absolutely fantastic. I went on last night and bought another 10 of them. I've got some more red ones. What colours did they come in? I've forgotten now. What colours do they come in? I've bought some blue ones, some green ones, some orange ones, and some red ones. I didn't buy white ones. Instead, to get up to the 10, I bought 2 more blue ones because the blue ones were really bright. So they were super cool. So I'm going to go and put some blue and some green ones on some other models, probably this evening. And yeah, probably took about 20 minutes all in to do that. And that includes actually gluing it to the model, taping them around and everything. All in. Really straightforward. Really straightforward. Oh, and I know Jamie asked in the Facebook group, Matt, did you use the little board, the little voltage regulator board? And the honest answer is no. I didn't, because number 1, they were super cheap. Number 2, I couldn't be bothered. And number 3, they work. So hey ho. So if I do blow one up, I'm not going to cry over it because of what were they? Because remember I paid at 10, so they were $1.69 off the top, and I think I would have used a code as well on top of it too. So yeah, they did work out pretty cheap to say the least. I think it was under $18 I paid for it. And I even think I paid the few cents extra for expedited shipping too. So I want to use them on other models. They did come out. They did work really, really well. The next topic which we covered today was the motors for the clouds. Like I said, I will get the clouds bought today. but I have gone for the SunnySky X2814 900 kV motors, and the reason why I've gone for those, I will be running it with a 11x7 propeller in there, because that seems to be like the best combo for thrust and everything. So, and I've also seen that motor, as Dave did some research a couple of days ago, that was the same motor which was being used on the MTD model, and that was always the suggested power package, so there must be a very good reason for that. So I will go and get some 11x7 props ordered. I do have some 11x5 props here already, but I will go and spend a couple of quid and get some 11x7 props, and I also need to, what else do I need to get? Some 40 amp ESCs for them as well. The glue showdown, shock, horror, Guerrilla Glue, the brown stuff, utter rubbish, won't be putting that anywhere near any of my models. That will now make its way down to the cellar and only get used for the woodworking, especially where, again, well, if I ever do get around to doing some woodworking again, you typically clamp joints, whereas that foam, not very good. And yeah, Zap was the shocker, and I'm sure I'm going to get some questions on this, so today's chat will go on slightly longer. Zap Glue, let me just put this in the old Googler. Zap, that one there. Right, let me just put this on your screen for you. It was that glue there. Now, Zap's got plenty of other glues, and it's Zap Goo, which I was using. Yeah, that's a better, can we view this image? View image. Yeah, so that's the bottle which I've got. It wasn't particularly expensive and did work really, really good. It's not a big bottle by any stretch of the imagination, but when you take the screw cap off, which I can't show you on mine because I've managed to glue my lid on, but my point is that is very, very pointy and very easy to get very precise gluing in place, and that was a shock to me that one did so well, to the point I would definitely use that on any of my models without reservation. That was the big shocker. Goop glue, no brainer. No, the foam's breaking before the glue's breaking. So you understand now why I've always been saying use Goop plumbing glue. That is a fantastic seal, and I'm sure I'd have the same struggles with Zap Glue as well. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, and notice both of these are rubberized glue, so they will flex with the model itself, which is fantastic. And the last two topics which we covered today, yeah, silly me, thank you to everybody's comments yesterday about that poor little rainbow wing. Got it sorted, flying brilliantly, and yeah, even the kids loved it flying around, and I even got a round of applause because I caught it. That was really cool. I've only done that, well, once before springs to mind, and that was on the slope with a big foam board model, and it literally flew at me, so I had no choice other than to catch it, and that little rainbow wing just came in, glided in perfectly, hit the throttle off switch, and just caught it. Brilliant. Yeah, good fun, that little model. I really do like it. And yes, the last topic today is that we do have another lamb to the slaughter, which will get built up sometime in the future. Like I said, I'm in no rush to build this one because I don't think it's going to last me personally more than a flight or two maximum. That said, if you are into your indoor flying, this thing is going to be super light, and it would also definitely suit a more experienced pilot, not only because of its nature, being a little 3D model, but number two, just because of its construction. Right now, it is rather flimsy, to say the least. So on that note, if you are out flying today, have a fantastic day's flying. For me, I was about to say unfortunately, but I'm actually going to say fortunately, it's another family day today. Now, talk about inappropriate Christmas presents. Both my girls, one of them is 6 and one of them 8, and they're both very, very girly. And Granny, well, my mum, bought them 2 dart guns. You know those little guns with the little foam inserts with a bit of rubber on the end? Yeah, she bought them that. So I'm going to be loading up my kids with safety glasses, and we're going to go and storm my parents' house this morning. Revenge is sweet. So happy days, happy days. And that was today's topics. Thank you ever so much for joining me today for today's RC Coffee Chat. I can see that today's episode was a much longer episode than normal. No apologies. I am sure that you would want to know which glues work best. And yeah, shock horror, Zap did. That was the shock one out of them all. And no surprise, Goop Glue did very well. And also, to be fair, if I had to use hot glue in my model, in an EPP Foam model, I'd use it. If that's the only glue which I had available and I needed a quick and dirty glue up, hot glue, yeah, without reservation. But I would definitely not be using Yoo-Hoo Power, Yoo-Hoo Pour. The CA glue which I've got personally was crap, and definitely not that Guerrilla Glue either. So on that note, from myself, Matt, and by the way, if you have had different experiences to myself, maybe with Guerrilla Glue, for example, do let me know in the comments section underneath this episode. Or, actually, before I go, if there's another glue which you use for EPP Foam or EPO, do let me know in the comments section as well. I'll go and buy a tube and give it a whirl. And never know, we may not have another shock horror one like Zap Glue. So, do let me know in the comments section underneath this episode. From myself, Matt, thank you ever so much for joining me today for today's RC Coffee Chat. Cheerios!